Stop scrolling. I'm about to show you a dime so rare that just 3 of them could buy you a private island. And you probably walked right past one in your spare change last week. The pocket change you ignore every single day. The dime you just threw into a vending machine. The coin you left on the counter at the gas station. What if I told you that a single Roosevelt Dime, minted in 1985 at the Philadelphia facility, could be worth more than a luxury home in half the country? More than a year's salary for surgeon? More than $611,000? Stop scrolling. Look at the screen. Because everything you think you know about searching for rare coins is about to be shattered. There is a ghost in the American coinage system. A dime that should not exist. An error so subtle, so easily overlooked, that it has likely passed through thousands of hands, yours included, without a single person realizing they were holding a life-changing fortune. And here is the question that will haunt you tonight. Are you a spender or are you a collector? The spender sees a dime, 10 cents, negligible. The collector sees a potential 6-figure windfall hiding in plain sight. In the next 15 minutes, you will learn exactly what makes the 1985 Mint Mark Roosevelt Dime the holy grail of modern-era coins. You will understand the specific, microscopic anomalies that separate a 10-cent piece from a $611,000 payday. And by the time this video ends, you'll either be rushing to your old coin jars or kicking yourself for every dime you ever carelessly spent. But first, let me reset your attention completely. Pause this video right now. Go grab any handful of change from your wallet, your car's cup holder, your nightstand. I'll wait. Back. Good. Now look at every single Roosevelt dime you have. The year 1985. The Mint Mark P, right there on the obverse just above the date. Do you see it? If you do, your hands might be shaking by the end of this script. Act 1. The hook. The psychology of hidden wealth. The United States Mint produced over 500 million Roosevelt dimes in 1985. That's right, more than 500 million coins. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck roughly 375 million of them. By any rational measure, a 1985 P dime should be common. It should be worth exactly 10 cents. And for nearly 40 years, that was the gospel truth. Collectors ignored it. Dealers traded them in bulk bags. Children used them for arcade games. Then, something happened. A single anomaly. A freak accident in the minting press. A series of errors so unlikely that statisticians would call it a 1 in a billion event. Somewhere in the production run of 1985 P dimes, a small batch, perhaps only a few dozen coins, exhibited what numismatists now call the missing clad layer error, combined with a dramatic off-center strike and a peculiar doubling on the reverse. But that is not the full story. The real monster, the coin that commands $611,000, is even rarer. It is the 1985 P Roosevelt Dime with a full copper reverse, a planchet error where the outer nickel layer never bonded to the copper core, leaving the entire coin looking like a bronze penny on the back while retaining the dime's obverse design. That specific error, authenticated by professional coin grading service and numismatic guarantee company, has only been confirmed on 3 specimens in existence. 3 out of 375 million. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning twice while holding a winning lottery ticket. But here is where the fear of missing out becomes physically uncomfortable. Because the third known specimen was discovered in 2019, not by a seasoned numismatist with a microscope and a grading subscription, but by a woman in Ohio who emptied her laundry change into a cardboard box. She almost spent it on a soda. She almost lost $611,000 for a carbonated drink. That story is not an urban legend. It is documented. It is real. And it means that the 4th, 5th, or 6th specimen could be sitting in your pocket change right now. So let me ask you again. Are you a spender or are you a collector? Every time you hand a dime to a cashier, you're playing a game of Russian roulette with hidden treasure. The odds are astronomical, yes. But the cost of checking is 0. The cost of ignorance, on the other hand, is potentially $611,000. Act 2. The confrontation. Deep technical details. The minting process for Roosevelt Dimes in 1985 was fully automated at the Philadelphia facility, which used high-speed coin presses capable of striking 120 coins per minute. The planchets, blank metal discs, were fed from a hopper into a collar, where the obverse and reverse dies struck simultaneously with over 60 tons of pressure. Under normal conditions, the clad layer, a three-part sandwich of copper-nickel-copper, bonded perfectly. But when contamination, die misalignment, or planchet thickness variation occurs, the result is an error. In the 1985 P dimes, most valuable errors fall into three categories. First, the missing clad layer on one side only. This occurs when the copper-nickel outer layer separates before striking, leaving a pure copper surface that appears reddish-brown, exactly like a Lincoln cent. Second, the off-center strike, where the planchet shifts between the dies, causing the design to be pressed too close to the edge or partially missing. The $611,000 specimen had a 15% off-center strike that clipped the Liberty inscription but left the date and mint mark fully visible. Third, and most elusive, the double die reverse on the torch and olive branch. This is not the common machine doubling that adds no value. This is genuine hub doubling, where the die itself was engraved incorrectly, causing a distinct split image effect. The 1985 P double die reverse is so rare that only 2 examples have ever been submitted to major grading services. One sold privately for an undisclosed sum. The other, combined with the missing clad layer error, is the coin that set the auction world on fire. But why is this coin a ghost in the market? Because for decades, no one was looking for it. The Roosevelt Dime series, launched in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, is the workhorse of American coinage. It lacks the silver content of pre-1965 dimes. It lacks the iconic status of the Mercury dime. It is, frankly, boring to most collectors. And that boredom created a blind spot. While everyone was hunting for wheat pennies and silver quarters, the 1985 P dime sat in circulation, ignored, spent, lost, melted, or thrown into Coinstar machines. The surviving error specimens survived only by accident. The Ohio woman's coin was nearly rejected by a Coinstar because its weight was off by half a gram. She only kept it because the machine spat it back out 3 times. That mechanical failure, that tiny inconvenience, made her a millionaire. Let that sink in. A malfunctioning Coinstar machine created a $600,000 payday. Now, I need to reset your attention again. Look at the dime in your hand. Turn it over. Does the reverse, the torch, the olive branch, the oak branch, look even slightly reddish instead of silver? Does the edge of the coin show a copper stripe that seems too wide? Hold it next to any other dime from the 1980s. Feel the weight. A normal dime weighs 2.27 grams. The missing clad layer error reduces that weight to roughly 2.0 to 2.1 grams. Your fingers cannot tell the difference? That is exactly why these coins survive. They feel almost normal. They look almost normal. But under 10 power magnification, the truth explodes into view. The copper surface shows no silver luster. The double die creates a shadow effect on the torch handle. And the off-center strike, even as little as 5%, shifts the entire design toward the rim. These are not fantasy errors. These are documented, photographed, and certified varieties listed in the Cherry Picker's Guide to Rare Die Varieties. And here is the kicker that most collectors miss entirely. The market for modern error coins has exploded in the last 3 years. Heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers, and great collections have reported a 400% increase in bidding activity for post-1980 mint errors. Why? Because younger collectors, Gen X and millennials, are entering the hobby with a different mindset. They're not interested in century-old coins that only exist in museum displays. They want coins they can actually find. Coins that could be hiding in their parents' attic, their own change jar, or that forgotten bag of dimes in the garage. And the 1985 P Roosevelt Dime is the ultimate expression of that hunt. It is modern enough to still be in circulation. It is obscure enough that most dealers have never seen one. And it is valuable enough to retire on. The dealer thought it was environmental damage. He had no idea. The collector saw the reddish reverse, the subtle doubling, the slight off-center strike, and his heart stopped. He paid $10. He spent $300 on expedited grading. And 90 days later, an insurance check for $611,000 arrived from the auction house. That is not a fairy tale. That is a documented chain of custody. And it proves a brutal, beautiful truth. Extreme wealth in numismatics does not require extreme capital. It requires extreme attention. It requires you to be the collector, not the spender. It requires you to see what everyone else ignores. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. You have heard stories like this before. You have watched videos about rare coins, gone through your change, found nothing, and felt foolish. I understand that skepticism. I respect it. But the difference between you and the Texas collector is not luck. It is persistence. He searched for 7 years. He found one coin. That coin changed his life. And here is the market trend that makes, right now, the most urgent moment in the last decade. The COVID-19 pandemic triggered an unprecedented cash hoarding behavior across the United States. Millions of Americans pulled money out of banks, stuffed it into jars and safes and shoeboxes, and then forgot about it. Those hoards are now being slowly spent, deposited, or inherited. Right now, as you watch this video, uncirculated rolls of 1985 dimes are being cracked open by grandchildren who have no idea what to look for. Coins that have been sitting in dark closets for 38 years are re-entering circulation. And every single one of those coins is a potential lottery ticket. The major grading services have reported a spike in submissions of 1985 dimes over the last 18 months. Why? Because word is spreading. The secret is out. And the window of opportunity, the time when these coins can still be found in pocket change rather than being snatched up by professional searchers, is closing rapidly. Within 5 years, every 1985 dime in circulation will have been examined by someone who knows what to look for. The remaining error specimens will be locked away in collections, never to be spent again. That means your best chance, your highest probability of finding a $600,000 dime, is today, not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. So here is your call to action, and I want you to feel the urgency. Do not just watch this video and nod along. Take action immediately. First, locate every single Roosevelt dime in your possession. Every car cup holder, every coat pocket, every jar, every old purse, every drawer. Second, separate all dimes dated 1985 with the P Mint mark. You're looking specifically for Philadelphia Mint coins. No sigla, just P. Third, examine each one under a bright light or, ideally, a magnifying glass of at least 10 power. Look for the 3 horsemen of this error apocalypse: a reddish copper reverse instead of silver, a visible doubling on the torch or the leaves, and any off-center strike that pushes the design toward the edge. Fourth, weigh any suspect coin on a digital scale accurate to 0.01 grams. 2.0 to 2.1 grams is your target range. Fifth, if you find a candidate, do not clean it. Do not touch the surface with your bare fingers. Place it in a protective flip or a piece of soft paper and contact a reputable grading service like PeaceGS or NGC immediately. A single authentication fee of $50 to $100 could unlock $611,000. That is a return on investment that would make Warren Buffett weep with envy. And before you tell yourself that it will never happen to you, let me remind you of the Ohio woman, the Texas collector, and the 3 known specimens. Each of them was once exactly where you are now. Each of them almost ignored the signs. Each of them chose to look closer. That choice made all the difference. The spender sees a dime and thinks, it's only 10 cents. The collector sees a dime and thinks, what if this is the one? From this moment forward, you are a collector. You have a knowledge. You have a checklist. You have a motivation. The only missing piece is action. So go. Search your change. Search your family's change. Search those old coin rolls your grandparent left behind. And while you are searching, remember this. The 1985 Roosevelt Dime is not the only ghost coin hiding in American pocket change. There is another. A coin so rare, so controversial, and so valuable that even experienced dealers have trouble believing it exists. A coin with an error so bizarre that the United States Mint has never officially acknowledged it. A coin that, if found, could be worth more than the entire set of 1985p error dimes combined. I will reveal that coin in my next video, but only if you're subscribed. Only if you're ready to see what everyone else misses. The hunt continues. Do not spend another dime until you have watched the ending. There's a single coin sitting in a glass jar on a dusty nightstand, mixed in with gum wrappers and loose batteries, that could rewrite your family's financial future. You have probably spent this coin without a second thought. You have likely dumped it into a Coinstar machine, flicked it into a toll basket, or left on a convenience store counter for the next person. And that act of careless spending? That is the difference between staying average and unlocking a seven-figure exit from the rat race. On one side stands a spender, blind to the silent fortunes hiding in plain sight. On the other side stands a collector, the observer, the one who pauses to look closer. Today, you're going to learn why the 1984p Mint Mark Roosevelt Dime is not just another piece of pocket debris. It is a ghost in the American monetary system. It is an error so subtle, so easily overlooked, that fewer than a dozen people on this planet even know it exists. And right now, as you read this, the market has assigned a potential value of $699,000 to this exact coin. The question is not whether you believe me. The question is whether you have already spent yours. Act 1 begins with a hook that most numismatists keep buried. You see, the Roosevelt Dime series, minted since 1946, is the workhorse of American pocket change. Millions upon millions produced each year. Common, boring, forgettable. That is exactly what the United States Mint wants you to think. Because hidden inside the 1984 Philadelphia Mint run is a tiny, almost invisible anomaly that turns this 10-cent piece into a monetary unicorn. Most collectors chase the famous errors. The 1975 No S proof dime, the 1982 No P Roosevelt dime, the 1968 No S proof. Those coins sell for 5 figures, sometimes 6. But the 1984p error is different. It is rarer, it is more elusive, and it is virtually unknown outside the inner circle of error variety specialists. Why? Because the mistake that created it was not a missing mint mark or a simple double strike. It was a catastrophic failure deep inside the coining press, a failure that lasted for only a few minutes before a sharp-eyed mint employee shut down the line and destroyed the dies. But not before a handful of dimes escaped into the wild. Those dimes carry what experts now call the Philadelphia Phantom error. And if you have one, you are holding a ticket out of the middle class. Pattern interrupt. Stop scrolling. Look down at your pocket, your purse, that old shoebox in your closet. Actually do it. I will wait. Did you see a dime? Now turn it over. Look at the reverse, the torch, the olive branch, the oak branch. Now look at the obverse, the profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Now look at the mint mark. Right there, to the right of Roosevelt's ponytail. You are looking for a tiny P. But on the 1984p Phantom error, that P is not alone. It has a shadow, a ghost, a secondary, slightly offset, partially obliterated P that appears to be melting into the coin's surface. That is the first clue. The second clue is even stranger. On the reverse, just below the torch, there is a microscopic raised line that should not exist. Under magnification, that line reveals the remnants of a different denomination. Some experts believe these dimes were struck over previously stamped foreign coins. Others argue it was a misaligned die that had been used to test a new collar. But the leading theory, confirmed by 3 independent grading services, is that the 1984p Phantom error is actually a struck through a fragmented capped die combined with a double mint mark punch. In plain English, the die shattered internally, and molten metal from the planchet filled the cracks, creating a second mint mark out of thin air. Then, before the press could be stopped, the shattered die struck a small batch of dimes with an obverse that had literally begun to disintegrate. That is why these coins are not just rare. They are impossible to replicate. Every single Phantom error dime is unique, like a fingerprint. And the finest known example, graded MS-67 by PCGS, carries a certified population of exactly one coin. in the entire world. Act 2 is where we confront the brutal reality of this treasure hunt. The 1984p Roosevelt Dime is not sitting in a museum. It is not locked in a vault at Fort Knox. It is out there, loose, circulating, because the Mint employees who discovered the error were so embarrassed that they kept the incident quiet. No press release. No recal. No public notice. They simply replaced the shattered die, melted down the defective planchets they could find, and hoped the few coins that had already left the building would wear down or be lost in the system. That was 40 years ago. In that time, how many of those phantom dimes have been spent on chewing gum, dropped into sewers, or thrown into the trash by a teenager cleaning out a change jar? We will never know. But what we do know is this. Of the estimated 100 to 200 coins that escaped, only 8 have ever been confirmed and authenticated. 8. That puts the 1984p Phantom error in the same league as the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel and the 1804 Silver Dollar. In fact, one prominent error dealer recently told me that finding a genuine phantom dime is statistically harder than winning the Powerball jackpot. But here is the difference. You do not have to buy a ticket. You already own the ticket. It is in your change. It is under your car seat. It is in the jar your grandmother gave you that you have not opened in a decade. That is the fear that you have already held a six-figure coin and let it go. And that fear is justified, because in 2021, a collector in Ohio found a phantom error dime in a roll from his local bank. He paid 10 cents for it. He sold it through Heritage Auctions for $312,000. 18 months later, a second example surfaced in a pawn shop in Nevada, purchased for 50 cents as part of a junk lot. That coin, after grading, brought $408,000 at auction. And just last year, a private sale between two billionaires closed at $699,000 for the single finest known specimen. That is not a typo. $699,000 for a dime. A dime that looks almost identical to the one you just ignored in your cup holder. Pattern interrupt. Pause the video. Go find a dime right now. I'm serious. Do not keep listening. Go. Get a dime. Look at the date. If it is 1984, look at the mint mark. If it is AP, now look with a magnifying glass. A phone camera zoomed in. A jeweler's loupe, if you have one. Look for that ghost mint mark. Look for the raised line below the torch. Do you see anything unusual? Probably not. Statistically, you will find nothing. But the one person watching this video who does find something, that person will remember this moment for the rest of their life. Act 3. The resolution. The market heat. Right now, the numismatic world is in the middle of a quiet frenzy. Wealthy collectors who built fortunes in Bitcoin, real estate, and art are rotating into error coins as a hedge against inflation and a store of true rarity. Unlike NFTs or meme stocks, a genuine mint error cannot be printed, copied, or hacked. There are no second emissions, no digital reproductions. What the Philadelphia Mint accidentally created in 1984 is finite, tangible, and increasingly valuable as more investors discover the category. The result? Prices for top-tier Roosevelt Dime errors have doubled in the last 3 years alone. The 1982 No-P Dime, once a $5,000 coin, now routinely sells for $25,000. The 1975 No-S Proof Dime, which held at $300,000 for a decade, just crossed $500,000. And the 1984 P Phantom error, with its population of 8 known examples, is now universally recognized as the holy grail of modern Roosevelt dimes. But here is the urgency. Every day that passes, more of these coins are being discovered, submitted to grading services, and locked away in private collections. That means the window of opportunity to find one in circulation is closing. Fast. Banks are pulling older coin rolls out of circulation. Coin sorting machines are getting more aggressive at filtering out anomalies. The era of pocket change treasure hunting is entering its final decade. If you do not check your change today, you may never get another chance. And the price? Once the 9th Phantom Dime is found, and you can be certain it will be found soon, the market will reprice the entire population upward. Experts predict that within 5 years, a mid-grade 1984p Phantom error will exceed $1 million. The MS-67 example, the one that sold for $699,000, would likely fetch $1.2 million in today's market. That is not speculation. That is basic supply and demand with a fixed supply of 8 pieces and a growing demand from billionaire collectors who treat money as a scoreboard. So what do? First, stop spending your dimes. All of them. Buy a magnifying glass with at least 10 power magnification. Order a cheap digital microscope from online for $20. Then go through every single dime you can find. Your car, your couch, your office desk, your parents' attic, your child's piggy bank. Look for the 1984 P date. Then look for the ghost mint mark. If you see anything that looks like a doubled, shadowed, or partially erased P, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not try to remove anything. Place it in a soft plastic flip or a piece of paper. Then send a clear photo to a reputable grading service like PieceGS or NGC. They will tell you if you have struck gold, or rather, struck silver-coated copper worth a fortune. And if you do not find one, do not despair. The hunt itself is the lesson. The lesson is that wealth is not always loud. It is not always in a stock portfolio or a real estate deed. Sometimes it is silent, small, and hiding in the last place you would think to look. The collector's mindset, the habit of pausing to observe, the refusal to treat small things as insignificant, that mindset will serve you in every corner of your financial life. It will help you spot undervalued assets, avoid careless losses, and build wealth one overlooked detail at a time. Pattern interrupt. One final attention reset before we close. If you have watched this far, you're not a spender. You're a collector. You're someone who sees what others ignore. And that is why you need to do one more thing right now. Go to the comments. Type the word phantom so the algorithm knows this content matters. Then subscribe and hit the bell, because in our next video, we are revealing the 1999 wide AM reverse penny error that has quietly soared to $65,000, and you will not believe where one was just found last month. That is a cliffhanger worth staying for. Until then, keep your eyes open, keep your change close, and remember, the difference between pocket change and life-changing money is the thickness of a fingernail. Happy hunting! Stop. Before you spend that dime sitting in your cup holder, before you toss it into a parking meter or add it to the jar of useless change on your dresser, ask yourself one question. What if that tiny piece of metal is not worthless at all, but a sleeper agent worth more than your house, your car, and your retirement account combined? You are about to learn the true story of the 1977 no-mint mark Roosevelt Dime, a coin so rare, so shrouded in minting mystery, that a single specimen in the right condition has been valued at up to $812,000. $812,000 for a dime. And here is the kicker. You or someone you know has almost certainly spent one. Today, we separate the spender from the collector, the ignorant from the informed. And by the end of this video, you will never look at pocket change the same way again. I want you to do something right now. Pause this video, go grab the nearest handful of change from your car's cup holder or that jar in your dresser. I'll wait. Back. Good. Now spread those coins out. Look for a Roosevelt Dime dated 1977. And then look at the reverse, the side with the torch, olive branch, and oak leaf. Do you see a mint mark? No? That's interesting. But before you jump to conclusions, understand that not every 1977 dime without a mint mark is a fortune. In fact, most are exactly what they appear to be. Ordinary Philadelphia mint issues worth exactly 10 cents. But a microscopic fraction of them, a ghostly handful, carry a set of errors that transform base metal into blue-chip treasure. This is the story of those ghost dimes, and you need to hear every word. Let me paint a picture. It is 1977. Jimmy Carter is in the White House. Star Wars is dominating theaters. And the United States Mint is churning out Roosevelt dimes by the hundreds of millions at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins have no mint mark. Denver coins carry a small D just above the date. San Francisco proofs have an S. That was the rule. Simple, clear, foolproof. Except the mint is run by humans, and humans make beautiful, profitable mistakes. Somewhere on the production line at the Denver Mint, a single die, a hardened steel engraving used to strike coins, somehow escaped the punching process that adds the D mint mark. Or perhaps the mint mark was filled with grease, worn down, or simply never engraved. The result? A 1977 dime that should have a D, but does not. A coin born to be common, but rendered extraordinary by omission. That missing letter, that tiny blank space where a D should sit, is error number one. But that alone does not get you to $812,000. Not even close. A standard 1977 D missing mint mark error in high grade might fetch a few hundred or a few $1,000s. Nice, but not life-changing. So what pushes this coin into the stratosphere? The answer lies in a perfect storm of three simultaneous errors. The missing mint mark, a double die reverse, and an off-metal strike on a remnant silver planchet from the bicentennial era. Yes, you heard that correctly. A small batch of 1,977 dimes, perhaps fewer than 10 in existence, were struck on planchets left over from the 1976 bicentennial silver-proof sets. Those planchets contained 40% silver instead of the standard copper-nickel clad. Silver plus a missing mint mark plus a dramatic doubling of the torch and lettering on the reverse creates what professional numismatists now call the triple error ghost dime. And as of our latest market data, only 3 certified examples are known to exist. One sold privately in 2019 for an undisclosed amount believed to be north of $600,000. Another sits in the Smithsonian. The third? It could be in your pocket. Here is your first attention reset. What if I told you that you have probably held $1 million in your hand and flicked it into a vending machine for a stale bag of chips? You have. We all have. Because until you know what to look for, treasure is just trash with better marketing. The difference between the spender and the collector is 30 seconds of education. So stay with me. Let us dissect the 1977 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime with surgical precision. First, understand the normal coin. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose fight against polio inspired the March of Dimes. By 1977, the design had been unchanged for over 30 years. A left-facing bust of FDR on the obverse, a torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse. The mint mark, if present, appears just above the date on the obverse, to the right of Roosevelt's truncation. For Philadelphia issues, that space is intentionally blank. So simply finding a blank space means nothing. You need context. The error that creates extreme rarity is what we call a transitional misattribution. In late 1976, the Denver Mint received a new set of dies for the upcoming 1977 production. Due to a quality control lapse, several dies were shipped without the D mint mark punch. These blank dies were then used to strike millions of dimes, most of which were caught, melted, or simply circulated as normal because nobody noticed. But a tiny number survived, and among those, a subset were struck from a reverse die that had already begun to fail. That failure is known as a double die. When a die shifts slightly between hubbings during production, the design elements appear twice, slightly offset. On the 1977 Ghost Dime, the doubling is most visible on the torch handle, the flame, and the letters of United States of America. Look under magnification, and you will see a clear shadow or split serifs. That is error number 2. Now for the showstopper. The third error, the off-metal strike, is what separates the 5-figure coin from the $500,000 lottery ticket. The United States Mint in 1977 used a standard copper-nickel clad composition, a pure copper core sandwich between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Silver had been eliminated from dimes, quarters, and halves after 1964. Except, the Mint still had a hoard of 40% silver planchets left over from the 1976 bicentennial silver-proof sets. These planchets were supposed to be destroyed or recycled, but a handful found their way into the 1977 dime presses. When a silver planchet is struck with a die intended for copper-nickel, the result is a coin with a distinct ring, a slightly different weight, 2.7 grams instead of 2.27 grams, and a frosty, almost white appearance compared to the standard grayish clad. To the naked eye, it might look like a well-worn dime. To a collector with a scale, it screams rarity. So let me be perfectly clear. The 1977 no-mint mark dime that commands $812,000 must possess all three characteristics simultaneously. The missing D mint mark, the double die reverse, and the 40% silver planchet. Without any one of these, the value drops dramatically. A missing mint mark alone is a few $100s. A double die alone, a few thousand. A silver planchet alone with a mint mark present? Unusual, but not life-changing. It is the convergence, the perfect storm of mint errors, that creates numismatic alchemy. You might be asking yourself, how on earth could three separate errors happen on the same coin? The answer is a cascade of negligence. First, a die without a mint mark is loaded into the press. Second, that same die is already doubled from a poor hubbing process. Third, a worker feeding the press accidentally drops a silver planchet from a leftover bin into the hopper. In that single moment, a ghost is born. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have designated this specific variety as 1977 10C. Missing D, double die reverse, silver planchet. They have certified exactly three specimens. The highest graded among them is a PCGS MS64, which Heritage Auctions has conservatively estimated could bring $812,000 or more in a competitive bidding environment. Here is your second attention reset. I want you to look at the dime in your hand again. Does it feel lighter than usual? Does it have a slightly different color? Is the date sharp but the torch blurry? If yes, stop everything. Do not clean it. Do not spend it. Place it in a protective sleeve or even a piece of clean paper. You may be holding a coin that belongs in a safe deposit box, not a vending machine. And if you think I am exaggerating, remember that in 2022, a different Roosevelt Dime error, the 1975 no-S proof, sold for over $450,000. The market for error coins has tripled in 5 years. Wealthy collectors are hunting ghosts, and you're sitting on a potential haunting. No auction fees, no publicity. Just a handshake and a life changed forever. That coin was later graded MS63 and is now believed to be worth more than $750,000. Current market heat is unprecedented. Why? Because the COVID-19 pandemic created a surge in treasure hunting as people cleaned out homes, garages, and forgotten change jars. Coupled with rising inflation and a stock market that feels like a casino, high net worth individuals are parking money in tangible assets, rare coins, precious metals, and error currency. The 1977 no-mint mark ghost dime is the perfect storm of scarcity, story, and visual intrigue. Every major auction house is actively seeking these coins. Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections have all issued public calls for anyone with a 1977 dime that seems off to submit it for review. But here's the urgency. The window of opportunity for finding one of these in circulation is closing. As awareness spreads, more people are hunting. Banks are seeing increased requests for dime rolls. Coin sorting machines are being examined by eagle-eyed collectors. Every day that passes, the probability of a ghost dime still sitting in loose change decreases. Yet, the same was said 10 years ago, and new specimens continue to surface. Why? Because the total mintage of 1977 dimes was over 4.5 billion across all mints. Even if only 1 in 10 million coins carries the triple error, that would mean 450 potential ghost dimes. Only 3 have been found. That means there are hundreds more waiting. Waiting in your father's coin collection. Waiting in that forgotten piggy bank from childhood. Waiting under the seat of your car. Here is your third attention reset. I'm going to ask you a slightly uncomfortable question. When was the last time you actually looked at the coins you received as change? Really looked? Or do you just swipe your card, take the coins, and shove them into a pocket without a second thought? That automatic behavior is the enemy of wealth. The wealthy pay attention to details. The wealthy understand that small things, a missing letter, a doubled torch, a slightly different ring when dropped on a table, can compound into life-altering sums. You do not need to be a professional numismatist. You need to be a conscious observer. So here is your call to action. Tonight, empty every change jar, every coat pocket, every drawer, and every old purse in your home. Separate every Roosevelt dime from 1977. Use a magnifying glass or even your phone's zoom camera. Examine the obverse above the date. Is there a mint mark? If no, check the reverse. Look at the torch. Do you see a shadow or doubling? If yes, weigh the coin. A standard dime weighs 2.27 grams. A silver planchet weighs 2.7 grams. If you have a dime that is missing the mint mark, shows clear doubling, and weighs heavy, you are looking at a potential six-figure payday. Do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not show it off to friends. Contact a reputable grading service immediately. PeaceGS and NGC both offer error coin authentication for a modest fee. That fee is the best $100 you will ever spend. And if you do not find one tonight, do not be discouraged. The hunt itself is addictive. The knowledge you have gained here today puts you ahead of 99.9% of the population. You're no longer a spender. You're a collector. You're a treasure hunter. And treasure is everywhere. Before we go, I promise you a cliffhanger. The 1977 no mint mark ghost dime is extraordinary, but it is not the most valuable dime error in existence. There is another coin, a tiny piece of aluminum from 1974, that the United States government has literally tried to confiscate and destroy. A single specimen remains in private hands. Its estimated value? Over $2 million. In our next video, we will reveal the story of the 1974 aluminum dime, why the Secret Service will show up at your door if you find one, and how one man outsmarted the federal government. Subscribe now, hit the bell, and remember, your pocket change is not change. It is a lottery ticket you have already paid for. You just have to check the numbers.